video of something that I just want to have a faff around with. So, one of the channels that I follow on YouTube, he was doing like a £1 challenge and like kind of feed yourself for a pound. It was something you could do in the past. It's not particularly something you could do now. But I was kind of having a think, and I think something I've been doing could be adapted to cooking yourself something for a pound. So, but this is just me kind of having a faff around with something first. So I've just toasted that linguine in a dry pan, and then I've got some leftover, which is now covered up with the camera, which I have got some leftover linguine. I'm going to have to put some more water in that, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Yeah, so just toasted off that linguine just to give it a bit of colour, and because it's got a bit of colour on it, we'll have a little bit more depth of flavour, which is going to be the problem when we're cooking cheap food. We kind of need to add in flavour, so by browning things, caramelisation, toasting things, we're kind of giving extra flavour. Just got a little bit of beef ragu left over. What I really want to do with this experiment first is I want to see if dry toasting the linguine, so it's fancy linguine because I haven't been out to buy some cheap spaghetti, so I'm using what I've got for the first part of the experiment. So the idea is that I just want to see if normally I would fry the linguine if I was doing like a pasta assassin's pasta, however, that's not how you pronounce it, but anyway, I would fry the pasta in some oil first. But on a limited budget, you're kind of struggling to find oil to fry things in, so I'm wanting to find out if dry frying it gives the same result. If it doesn't, hopefully it won't make it explode and kind of like crack it and make it fall to bits. And then also I want to kind of work out if 200 grams worth of cheap tin tomatoes is enough for 250 grams worth of pasta. So just cheap tomatoes. So there was about 150 grams worth of leftover ragu. So I've just topped it up with some extra tomatoes. And then I want to see if that amount of tomato would be the right kind of amount. So, right, what things did I buy today? So I went out for a walk. Still here, I'm just over in the fridge. I went out for a walk today, and I was kind of like I kind of thought, what we'll do is we'll just have a walk around the supermarket and see what we can actually buy for a pound. So we can buy cheap spaghetti. I haven't bought the cheap spaghetti yet. We can buy cheap spaghetti for 28p. We can buy tins of tomatoes, cheap tomatoes, for 44p, which leaves us with about 26 pence left. So I was kind of like, what can we actually buy for 26 pence? Not a lot, but we'll be able to buy something. Let's get a bit more water. Oh, we need to put some salt in there, don't we? And some plenty of pepper as well, so plenty of salt. Plenty of pepper. So, how do I talk my way through this? Obviously, I'm not going to eat 500 grams worth of pasta. I'm only going to eat 250 grams worth of pasta. So, but the challenge is a pound, and we can't buy half a tin of tomatoes, and we can't buy half a packet of pasta if we've only got a pound. Although we then have left over half a tin of tomatoes, or half a packet of spaghetti, and half a tin of tomatoes to do on something else. But we've got a little bit of money left to do something else, and it's dead kind of easy just to kind of go, well, I can make loads of meals for just a pound. It's not that difficult in the grand scheme of things, you know, because if we're making a portion of something, even though anchovies are like a pound to buy a tin of anchovies, you only use half of them, so that's 50p. So and then half a packet of spaghetti is 14p, and then half a tin of tomatoes is 22p. So we're at the pound. You know what I mean? So it's a meal for a pound. But I suppose what I'm kind of saying is that yeah. So that's a meal for a pound. But we've spent more than a pound because we've had to buy a tin of anchovies, which cost a pound, or a tin of tuna, which cost 55p, and then there's the spaghetti and the tomato on top of that. So I was kind of thinking, well, what actually buy for pence? So what I have bought, and this is going to be part of the other bit of the experiment, also might be some shorts as well, as I bought 26 pence worth of minced beef, because in Morrison's they've still got a butcher counter, and you can buy, like 26 pence worth of mince. And then this is interesting. So this was 24p, which I think this will be a bit of a winner actually, with what we're doing here. This cost 24 pence, so slightly under budget, but it's a disc of garlic sausage. Not very garlicky, but I think there'll be bags of flavour in that. So I think that chopped up and made into a bit of a ragu type of thing will work. But that's for the proper part of the challenge. This is just it's not really a challenge, is it? The me faffing around. My tongues have got hot now. So those kind of like my ideas. The channel that I follow. So he kind of bought these as well. So salmon paste and then sardine and tomato paste. As a kind of a flavour type. Use them for the flavour more than the actual that. So make them into a bit of a fishy stock. So I'm sure we could use those as well, but it might be a bit of a longer video. But so they're 55 pence each. But if you kind of think, well, if they're 55 pence each, we might as well buy a tin of cheap tuna and use the oil out of that to fry the pasta, and then half a tin of tomatoes, and then half a tin of tuna type of thing. Whereas these will just be more of a case of use them for the stock. So that half tin of tomatoes I don't think it's really going to be quite enough, but we'll persevere. Right, so what was the other, anything else that I kind of wanted to add to it? Yeah, so I think we'll be able to dry fry the garlicky sausage and get a little bit of fat out of it, and that'll kind of get a bit of a caramelisation, will get some colour and flavour, extra flavour to it. And then the mince, I think we'll see about dry frying it, but we might just stick it under the grill and kind of see what happens. That needs more water. I think so. This part of the experiment has already shown me that we really do need a whole tin of tomatoes. 250 grams worth of pasta is a decent sized portion for me. I've been swimming and I've been out walking today. I'm justifying greed. That's what I'm doing. I went out for a walk this morning, and then I came back and had a bit of lunch, faffed around a bit, did a few jobs, and then went and did a bit of gardening in my mum's garden. So I've had a busy day, and then I've been swimming. So I am just justifying being greedy. Right, so certainly want some more pepper. This is not part of the budget, but so we'll see how this works. So we're back when this is all going to cook down, but what's happening is the starch is coming out of the pasta and forming the sauce. We'll have some kind of sauce with it. I don't know what kind of, if it will be a disaster or not, but the linguini's holding it together, isn't it? The dry frying has not made it explode. So was there anything else I wanted to add? No, I don't think so. Although, so my leftover ragu had some leftover meat in it and onions as well, so it's not tomatoey. So maybe like a half a tin of tomatoes might be enough for 250 grams, 500 grams of pasta, but we'll see. We'll see. It's only a bit of a faffing around part of the video. Anyway. Right, so we'll be back when that linguine is cooked. Right, we are cooked. Not enough tomato for that amount of pasta. And I've been tasting it as I've been going, so it's alright. The dry frying the pasta gives it more of a wholemeal pasta flavour to it. So, although we should have a little bit of sauce with a lot of pasta, shouldn't we? How does it taste properly? That's alright. It's alright, it needs plenty of salt and pepper in it. That was a precursor to faffing around with another video. It's not mad. I put loads of pepper in that. Maybe a little bit too much. But makes it taste better. So, it's not, that doesn't look too bad, does it? That looks like the yesterday's leftover pasta. So, what does the recommend proportion? I haven't got my glasses on. Is it 150 grams per portion? I think it's 150 grams per portion. Yeah, I think it's 150 grams a portion, so it's probably could get away with half a tin of tomatoes for 150 grams worth of pasta, but I'm a greedy boy. But anyway, so could just eat it out of the pan, couldn't I? Like a complete heathen. But there we go. So the next part of the video will be me using the cheap pasta and those cheap bits of meat that I picked up, and we'll see how it turns out. Dinner for £1, but is it any good? Well, dinner for 57p because we can't buy half packets of spaghetti and half tins of tomato. Toast your pasta in the frying pan until it looks like this. Toasting it's going to give us another layer of flavour. Fry your one slice of garlic sausage in the pan. Chop it up using some scissors. Add back in your 200 grams of pasta, your 200 grams of tomatoes, and 400 grams of water. Season with salt, plenty of pepper, and hard fry. Add a bit more water if your pasta isn't cooked. Move the pasta around so the starch comes out of the pasta and forms a sauce with the tomatoes and the water. Until it looks like this. It's not bad, that. Right, so this is the pasta. It's not bad, actually. It's not bad. Probably would have been better with the whole tin of tomatoes. But you know, we live and learn. I cooked the mince. I battered it out and then I roasted it in the oven. So it's gone like that. Which I really probably should have fried it in the frying pan, but then I was worried that it'd overcook in the frying pan. So we need to get that liquid off that tin foil, get that juices off that tin foil for we get the flavour for the next pasta dish we're going to do. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I think the garlic sausage is a good idea, and it's only one slice of garlic sausage, but you get a meatiness and you get a bit of garlicky flavour, which is kind of what you need. You really do need to fry the pasta beforehand, and you really do need to almost caramelise the sauce in the pan as well, just to kind of give that layer of flavour. Because we're only using 3 ingredients and a bit of salt and pepper, we really need to help it as much as possible. And there's not much fat gone in there either, so we're battling against that as well. So we need to fry and caramelise to add like a layer of flavour. But because it's garlic sausage, it's got that little bit of garlic to it, which is all right, you know. So we can't. It costs 57p, but we've got left out of that. We've got half a tin of tomatoes, and we've got 300 grams. Oh, I'm just burping. we've got 300 grams worth of pasta. So it is dinner for £1, but it's not. But it is, because that's all we could buy for £1, even though we've kind of got leftovers. It's dinner for 57p, and we've got some leftovers, but we couldn't buy half a tin of tomatoes, and we couldn't buy a certain like 200 grams worth of pasta, which kind of is the problem. And I probably already talked about this before, but you can. It's the economy of scale. So cooking bacon's cheap, but you've got to invest £2 to buy a kilo of cooking bacon, or whatever it is. Well, it's £1 for five. It was £1 for five. £1 for a kilo. Yeah, it was £1 for a kilo of cooking bacon. But you've got to invest in that a kilo of cooking bacon, or is it 500 grams? Anyway, I can't remember. So you kind of, it's cheaper to cook for yourself the more food that you can kind of buy, and the cheaper you can buy it. But you've got to have that investment of that extra money with something that's going to sit in the cupboard. And sometimes you kind of think like, you've only got £1. So that's kind of what that is. So we can have a bowl of food for £1. But anyway, so yes, we'll do it with the mint, and I bought some more ingredients, and I've been having to think about it, so there'll be more to this video, but that's a success. And then 200 grams of tomatoes, 400 grams of water, that includes the water from there as well, so that's 400 grams worth of water, and then plenty of salt and pepper. Cook it. I should have rinsed that out, shouldn't I? Steam up the camera, carry on the cooking process, blah blah blah, salt and pepper, and then we're back when it's done. So how did we do? I think the garlic sausage one's going to be nicer because it's got that extra flavour of the garlic in it. And it's pork. I think pork's a nicer meat to cook into pasta sauces. Certainly something like that. Something like a cured pork is much nicer than a beef of any description, in my opinion. So, what does it taste like? It's going to be good. It's going to burn my mouth, aren't I? With that long strand. That's even worse. Even worse. It's alright. The meat's softened up, so that's okay. Now, the problem is, so I made a mistake in my calculations. I put the cans down of tins of tomatoes down at 44p, but they're actually 40p. So we could have bought another 4p's worth of mince. I don't think we could have got any more garlic sausage. We might have got a slightly bigger bit of garlic sausage, but I don't think we would have got a substantial bit. So the garlic sausage one's better, but it's all right, you know. As an interesting experiment, it's working quite well so far. So, but there is more. So there'll be another. I've got another couple of ideas to do after this, so they'll come straight after this bit. I have bought some sardines in tomato sauce for 49p. So we can add the 49p to 28p, and we come to 77p, and then we can have 23p's worth of onions, which we're going to puree down. Let's have a look at these sardines. And they tend to have the, I'm just toasting the rice like we've done before to give it some flavour. Oh yeah, and I did. Like some sardines in some sunflower oil. So we'll do something with those as well. So let's, oh, got a bit of oil in there. So some of these sardines have the scales on them. I'm not particularly bothered about the bones, but I don't like the scales. I've looked at these before, and someone just kind of said, "I'll just eat them" in the comments, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I don't want to eat scales. So let's just have a look at these sardines and see if they've got any. Oh, the skin's on them, and the bones are in them, but the bones are cooked, that's soft. So there's no scales. There's a little bit of thin there, but that looks okay. So what's the other one like? It's got a little bit of the backbone thinning, which we'll take out. I don't want to eat that. I'm sure some people just eat them whole, but that's not me. That's fine. Right, so how's it taste? I think I just tasted a scale there. Nah, fine. It'd be fine. Right, so toast the pasta, puree down the onions, use those as like a basis for the sauce, and then we've got the tomatoes, and then we've got, I don't think this is going to look good, but we've got the tomatoes, and then we've got the fish, which will kind of intensify all the kind of flavour. So, a few jobs to do, and then we'll be back in a bit. Right, so pasta is toasting nicely. Let's just get this fish in and start breaking it down like we would with anchovies. So mash the fish like that, in with the sauce and the tomatoes, not waste any of that, and then we need another half tin of water just to rinse that out. Right, steam up the camera. All that water can go in. So, just about everything's come out of that jar, and then pureed the onions down with the other half tin of water. So that will be enough water to hopefully cook the onion. Now, you kind of go, well, why didn't I fry off the onion? But the problem is that there's no fat to fry off the onion. So, this is what they do in South America is they puree vegetables down, like carrots and celery and onions and those type of things, peppers and that type of thing, and instead of chopping it, and then they add it to the dish like that. So that's where we get that inspiration from. We don't want to waste that delicious bit of fat on there. Can we get all that in? And then salt and pepper, and then fierce heat, cook it down, just like we've done before. We'll see how it turns out. I'm not thinking the colour's going to be great, but because of the fishy element, I think it'll taste good. It might just not look amazing, but we might just purposely burn the onions a little bit when we do the sauce to kind of improve the flavour type of thing. So plenty of salt, not too much, and then we'll see how it turns out when it's all cooked. This pasta is cooked and it's slightly sticking to the pan, which means we're going to get a bit more flavour because the caramelisation will have started. So that's the difficult thing when we're using so few ingredients of not particularly good quality. Flavour is difficult to kind of come by, and fat is difficult to kind of come by. So any kind of caramelisation that we can do, and any kind of fat we can utilise. Let's just use a little bit of water to let it down, just to loosen it up slightly. So it's not going to be pretty, but it might just be tasty. I'm going to eat it anyway. I'll just get those bits of sauce from the pan, and the pasta starch will combine with the liquid and form hopefully a bit of a sauce. Needs more liquid, so you can always add more. Very difficult to kind of take it away once something's cooked, because we can't boil it to reduce it. We can always strain it off, but that's not really kind of what we want to do. So much better to add a little bit more. There she kind of go. The same for seasoning as well. Speaking of seasoning, more pepper. Pepper's not included in the cost of the meal. It's the only cheat that I'm doing. So, still a little bit more water, which would suggest that the pasta is bordering on overcooked if it's soaking up that pasta. Okay, that looks about as presentable as we're going to get it. It'd be nice with a bit of cheese in it, but that's not what this is about, is it? It's about going to the supermarket with a pound and seeing what you can buy. Very difficult to get a tomato, a onion that's 23p. So, how's it? Looks alright, doesn't it? How's it taste? That's alright. That's alright. Probably could have done with half the amount of sardines. Probably could have done with half the amount of sardines. But, you know, we're only faffing around, aren't we? Right, I'm going to eat that. And then they've got one more to do. And then this experiment will be over. So, this is going to be the last video of these pound meals. And I was having a think while I was swimming. And I think I'm going to attack this in a different way. I'm going to see if we can actually make a sauce from the 23p's worth of onions and the sunflower oil from the sardines. So we're going to cook. Well, let's see how much sunflower oil is in here first. So I'm going to chop the onions up, and then I'm going to cook it down with the sunflower oil, and I'm going to puree it. I'm going to see how that turns out. So maybe add a little bit of water as well, and see if it kind of like emulsifies it into a sauce. But cook the onions first rather than puree them down like I did in the previous video. And then we're not going to toast the spaghetti in the pan. What we're going to do is we're going to cook the spaghetti in the pan with a little bit with some water and some of the other oil from the sardines. So it's more of akin to a cacio e pepe, a pasta alla griglia, or a carbonara, where you form the sauce from the starch in the pasta and the fat from some bacon and the water and the cooking and pasta cooking water. So that kind of forms the sauce, and then you add cheese to it. We haven't got any cheese, but I think we might be able to kind of make a bit of a sauce with the onions, and then do the same with the pasta. So pasta with a little bit of water and that, and hopefully the starch will come out of the pasta, and it will kind of form a sauce. Now, not too much starch comes out of that pasta. It would do with a better quality pasta. Have I got something? Yes. So a better quality pasta like that forms a sauce a lot easier. Whereas that kind of pasta, the starch doesn't want to come out as much, and it's probably down to it being a bronze dye being used to form the pasta. But anyway, so chop the onion, cook it in some of the oil from the sardines, puree it down, and then we'll be back when we're kind of putting everything together. But chop it up fine and then puree it down, so it's well cooked, and then we'll see if it emulsifies together to form a sauce. Just soften the pasta just a little bit in some water, just so it fits in the pan a little bit easier. I'm going to do it in a smaller pan this time, because I think a big pan's fine, but we're losing like the sauce around the outside. So we're just water, and then you can see, well, not really, but the starch has already started to come out of the pasta there. So hopefully it will properly start to cook into the pan before it burns around the sides, and then that bit of oil there into that there, and then we might just rinse that out with a bit more water. The kettle has just boiled, we might just have enough. Oh, actually, I want the oil, but there's some scales in the bottom of there. I've gone through the sardines and just picked out just picked through it because there was some. I don't like the scales. I'm honest. There was just a few scales, so we just picked them out. So, there we go. So that's starting to. That's not going to fry on the side of the pan. It won't catch. So enough water there. We need some salt, but we'll be careful with the salt because the sardines will be a little bit salty. And I've already salted the onions as I've cooked them down as well. So plenty of pepper. That's that. It smells nice and fishy. And then that's the sauce there that I've made. And these are the sardines that I've just pulled out any bits of skin that I didn't like the look of. So how does this sauce taste? Basically just an onion puree with the sauce and the sardines. Did I say sardines? Sardines, mackerels. Definitely sardines. So just water to oil and the onions pureed down. Could be a little bit smoother, but you know, how does it taste? Pretty good at that. It's pretty good at that. Right, so that's fine now. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and we'll have to keep moving it around with the tongs. And then what will happen, hopefully, is the starch will start to come out of the pasta, and as the water evaporates, it will form a sauce, the basis of a sauce in the bottom of the pan. But anyway, we'll see that when we get to it. So cook away, relatively high heat. Cook it like a bit like a risotto. I know this is breaking all the rules of how we cook pasta, but I said it once, I said it again. We're not in Italy. I'm not Italian. So, and I think the Italians would be horrified at the quality of that spaghetti. So, therefore, everything is forgivable. So we're back when pasta is more like cooked. I'm not going to smash the sardines up. I'm going to we'll just move it through the sauce. That's me moving it through the sauce when it's cooked, and then we'll kind of see how it turns out. Right, so as you might be able to see, the starch is coming out of the pasta and forming like a sauce with the oil, as you can see. There you go. So that's the start. That's the basis of the sauce. So let's add some of this onion puree and give it a mix around and kind of see what happens with that. Oh, so we have formed a kind of creamy sauce there, haven't we? We'll probably will end up putting all of that in, but actually I think all that pasta, so 500 grams of pasta and all that onion, and that would make a substantial meal for two, actually. A substantial meal for two. How does it taste? How does it taste so far? And then we'll just stir in the pasta. Might be a little bit overcooked. That's the other danger with using cheap pasta. It's not as forgiving. So the better quality pastas, not necessarily more expensive, but the better quality pastas, it's harder to overcook them. No, that's not bad, though. That's not bad. You'd think there was something creamy in that, but it's not. It's just the oil that's making that creaminess. So now just break this fish up a little bit. I see there's some scales there. I don't want to eat the scales, in all honesty. They're not my cup of tea. So break that up slightly. That's fine, but that was fine. So, out there like that. So there's quite a lot of sardines, isn't there? Yeah, it needs all that sauce, but we would. I think we'd get away with all that pasta. We are recording, aren't we? Yes, we're recording, that's okay. So, forever losing bits of videos. But anyway, so not that there. That in for washing up. Sturdy throughy, like that. So that's actually more sauce than we need there, but Looks okay. And what does it taste like? So a little bit of fish, a little bit of pasta. Alright, is that? That's alright, is that? Oh, we can do things for £1. I think that's a success. We'll do a fancy picture. We'll do a twirly pastry picture. And then that can be the, what am I call it? That can be the thumbnail, can't it? Anyway, so, a success. I'm going to